Do you know what we have not done? Well, I feel like we haven't. I don't know. I've lost track of all the makeup that we do here. I feel like we haven't done just a classic bronzy eye and bronzy skin. I feel like we've been focused on pinks. Even when I say we, I mean the makeup community. I mean, pink is so much fun right now. I'm having a blast. But I want to do a bronzy look. Let's do something really, really bronzy. And remember a few weeks ago how I was on the lookout for a subculture palette and I asked y'all. Y'all gave me some wonderful ideas, but I wanted to get one from you. And I found one of my friends on here, Sarah, she had it and it's very lightly used. I can see you were liking the bronze in that one though. And I think it's sweeter than trying to find one that's new. A little bit of alcohol, not that I don't trust you, Sarah, but I'm telling for other people, you would just lightly spritz. I'm not going to be using the brush, so I'm not even going to worry about that. But we would just spray that down with alcohol and let that dry overnight. Just wipe it down. It actually came perfect. She cleaned it up for me. So beautiful. But I'm so excited, and this color is inspiring me to do a bronzy look. Really quickly, if you are, you're going to rest there. If you are wondering what is going on with this palette, what are you talking about? So this is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Subculture palette. I forget the year that it released. I will look that up and I'll put it right there. That being said, this had a lot of negative press, a lot of negative reviews behind it. People would say it had a lot of fallout. It would not blend properly. There were so many things that people did not enjoy about it. That being said, I had the palette. I lost mine when I moved, but I never had any issues with it. And I'm so excited to have it again. That way we can talk about it and learn with it. I feel like it's a wonderful palette to kind of understand even where formulas have gone, where they have went, where we are in terms of eyeshadow formulas these days. So let's start with some clean canvas. This is from Gerard Cosmetics, probably one of my favorite eyeshadow bases of all time. I want to do a little bit more of a full coverage look. So when I want to do a more full coverage look, I reach for this one because it creates a clean canvas. It's very pigmented and you're not able to see any of my veins. And it creates a lighter base. There's also a white one. And just remember, the lighter the base, the truer the color is going to appear on your undertone. So let's just cover up the freckle, take that all the way up to the brow bone. Let's do this. At the time, I wouldn't have had our brushes here, so I'm really excited to use this together now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with this shade right here, and I'm gonna lay down my first transition. Something I really wanna talk about, these being pure pigments. Really quickly, I have to touch base on that because you have to know why this formula is different. So think of all of these mattes as being a pressed pigment. That difference is what it sounds like. These are extreme pigments. Now with most pressed pigments that are just pure color, that formula is a lot softer. And when a shadow is soft, it picks up on the brush with just one tiny little tap. Now I went in about 3 taps because this is going to be a shade closer to my skin tone and I just want to start to set and lay down that color very quickly. But we have to think about how soft the formula is. Okay, so this is a great example. This is a new palette from Melt. This is Bailey's collab with Melt, and why I grabbed this is because this would be the exact same formula as Subculture, but we've had time to understand this pressed pigment formula instead of going, oh God, oh it's in, oh I'm over blending it. Another thing with this very soft texture, they're very easy to over blend and overwork, which we talk about here a lot, so I'm sure most of you get where I'm going. But this is basically this later. Now these are a touch more updated because this formula is many years after this, but this is still a pressed pigment, the mattes, and then this is a pressed pigment. I hope that's making sense. All right, moving on. Let's grab some more of this. I did 1, 2, 3. Let's go ahead and set this upper crease. We're starting our transition. Just so smooth. But swiping with a pigment like this pressed type of pigment, You know what else? I could show you another pigment that's a pure pigment but not pressed, and what this would look like unpressed. Let me see if I can find one. But before we move on, do not think I'm trying to sell you this palette. I don't even know where to find this palette. I had to ask y'all for this palette. I'm just teaching you pressed pigments and understanding formulas, because you might even have a palette like, not this one, but you might have something that you're having a hard time with, and if you'll go check it, it might be because it's a pressed pigment. And then once you figure it out, that palette's not collecting dust anymore. But let me find what I was going to tell you about. So this is what I'm talking about. So this is a full-on pigment, it's just not pressed. And this is going to, I'm trying to see if you can really see that texture. You can see how soft that looks. It looks even more finely milled than a face powder. So that's what I'm talking about. And when you have that sort of texture, you get intense color, super intense color, but you have to be very mindful of how you pick it up on the brush, where you pick it up on the brush, how many times you tap, swirl, swipe. Swiping can be sketchy with it. So it's a little bit more complicated, yes, but I feel that it's really helpful information. All right, let's just do a couple more taps, just a 1, 2, make sure that we're nice and set all the way across. This is just our first transition shade. It's gonna help our next shades blend in. Everyone in my home is on the phone right now. There are conversations everywhere. Things are happening. And my sweet mommy is just, she's a hoot on the phone, and she gets really elevated, but I love it. Oh, you know what I forgot about in this palette was this pinky highlight situation. I know I'm talking a lot, but I just feel that talking is so educational. Look how pretty that is. It's like, it's a Pat McGrath. You know that Pat McGrath pigment? That's it. Ooh, oh, I love it. Oh, I'm so excited to have this palette again. Okay, moving on. Let's grab this color. Let's grab it on the tip of the brush. Just 2 little taps. This is going to be a lot more pigmented. Do you see how pigmented that is? And when you don't dig the brush in there, you're picking up the perfect amount. You're not gonna have any issues. You're really not even gonna have fallout. The number one thing I used to hear with this palette is there's just so much fallout. But at the time, there was a lot of palette digging. There was so much palette digging on YouTube. And we don't need to do that with any eyeshadow palette. Let's pick up some more of the same shade, just 1 tap. And then I'm gonna push it towards the front. I wanna bring it all the way over. This is so nostalgic for me. I remember this exact color on my eye. This is fun. This was a really fun idea. Okay, again, I'm using the tip of the brush to still place and blend. Then I'm gonna relax my eye, and I'm gonna start to transition that a little bit. And I'm still using the tip of the brush. Ben's on the phone. Just ruckusing. He's on a business call situation. Okay, I'm just gonna keep doing that. I need Sheila. There we go. Then we're gonna do a quick little wipe here. And then I'm gonna take the side and just continue to soften a little bit more. We're gonna use one more transition shade, but I wanna make sure it's nice and softened. Now, let's give this a wipe. Let's go into this shade. I feel like that's gonna be really pretty together. Okay, tiny amount. And then we're gonna transition this just a little bit more. That kind of mustardy shade is gonna be really pretty with bronze. Let's just continue that transition. And I'm just gonna tap back and forth till this is nice and melted together. One more tip about this type of shadow is the first thing that we would all do when we had this palette is we would put on the base, then immediately set that base. And what happens there is you sometimes don't get an even blend. It's just kind of sticking to certain areas, not sticking to other areas. So that just very wet base and those pressing motions, they give you that really even blend. So we're talking about expiration dates. A few of you asked me. If it's a powder like this, keeping it sprayed down with alcohol, that's gonna be perfect. Powders they have a long time before they get weird. Obviously check for mold, check for things, we'll do that. But the alcohol is what's gonna save that. I do have palettes that are probably 10 years old that look very new because I have just taken care of them in terms of sterilizing them. The next thing is liquids. If liquids, I wouldn't say keep longer than a year. You can search all of this on Google if you want to read more. I'm going to help you. But mascara, I don't really use a mascara longer than a month and a half. I I do want you to switch that out because that goes so close to the eye and there's no way to sterilize it. And let's see, lipsticks. I have lipsticks that I have in my collection that I won't use, but obviously I'm going to keep them, like my Selena Mac collection. I will always have that until I die, but I won't wear it. But I'll use a lipstick probably for about a year. Glosses less, because glosses you can't get in here and clean it, but a lipstick I could still spray down. And when I say lipstick, I mean a bullet lipstick, something that does like that. But everything else, if it's a powder, like a face powder that's in a compact, you could spray that, but you can't spray loose powder. So again, it's something that you can research on Google, and then it's really just, are you comfortable with it? But I will say that mascara and glosses, no. I'm going to switch to an E27. We're still going to use the same shade, but I wanted a little bit more depth in my socket. So this tiny brush obviously is just going to fit perfectly there. And I'm just going to take it around here, kind of round out the eye a little bit more. If you ever want to create a more rounded eye, you want to angle it that way. I'm going to be very dramatic with the shape so you can see it. So think of it as curving right here, and then we don't want to blend it up too much. We'll soften that edge just a little bit, but we want to create that depth. Do you see this? It just really rounds out the eye, and it's going to make the eye look a little bit bigger, a little bit more doe-eyed. If I wanted to elongate the eye, I would not go that way. I would create a shape like that, which I should do a video and do 2 different eye shapes. It's a good idea. Now I'm just going to take the tip of the E28 again and just get right in there and just soften that very top edge. I still want it to be very defined because I'm changing my eye shape a little bit. I want it to be less almond, more round. So we're going to leave it a little defined, but just some light taps will melt all of this back together. So I want it to just be really smudgy. I don't want to cut crease, so I'm not going to worry about carving out my lid, but I do need to smooth out our base here. Creasing is completely normal until this base is set. Don't ever think that that's something that we should worry about. As long as you're pressing that shadow in to a tacky base, any tacky base, and just really press it like I've taught you here, you're not going to have creasing. But we do need to smooth it before we put any kind of shadow on top, just like our concealer. If you haven't used your C30 with a shimmer, you are missing another way that this brush can change your makeup life, 100%. So we're gonna grab this shade, and the reason that this is so nice is because it acts like a fingertip, but more precise. For one thing, I have long nails. Not all of us have these super long nails, but it's also kind of hard that if we do want to bring it all the way up here and we want to have precision, I'm going to soften it, yes, but I do want to show you that, look at the way the shimmer is going on. It's going on like we're using our fingertip, but we have way more precision. I can't do this. I love this brush. Okay, we're going to pick up more and we're just going to pack this and press and pull this onto the lid. This is a very 2017 color and I love it so much. Me and Sarah both love this color apparently. And really quickly, this feels like a fingerprint in there like that. You needed a C30. Now I'm going to take our E27 again and just lightly tap and soften that into our socket. Let's do a smudgy brown wing. We'll start with the brown. We might add black only to the lash line for some dimension. But let's start with this. We're going to do one eye at a time. And I'm just going to bring this all the way across. These are my favorite from Melt, but I mentioned one eye at a time. That way it doesn't set. I'm just going to go ahead and fill in that right there too. Nice. Grab that E27. Make sure there's nothing on it. And then we're just going to tap and smudge it. Nice. Yep, that's exactly what I had in mind. And then we'll add a little bit more definition to the lash line with the black. We could even extend it just a smidge. I love these so much. I'm gonna do my waterline too because this more red brown is really gonna bring out my brown eyes. Then I'm gonna layer some more brown, but just on the outer part, the same pencil. If you've ever wanted to get that really smudgy, wudgy, kind of celebrity smudge, it's about layering. And then also not over blending. Tapping is really important. And the reason why is because swiping back and forth, again, patchiness, it can just creep in. So we want to be really, really delicate. Nice. And then let me find my black liner. And y'all always get concerned because y'all notice little red spots and things. I have just reactive skin. It's just like I barely go like that. I'm going to turn super red. But then it's also going to go away very, very quickly. But thank you for noticing and caring about me. By the way, these are the best liners, gel liners like this kind of smudgy waterline, a gel liner. These are the best ones on the market right now. This is them. You need these. If you like this type of look and you like gel liners, you need these. And also, you'll notice how quickly that went on my eye. That also means it's going to stay a lot quicker because I didn't have to keep going back and back and back and back and back. And the more that we go back and forth here, the more moisture is mixing with this, changing that formula. And that's why it might even transfer to the top, transfer to the bottom. So the fact that we can just kind of go right in here, look at this, 1, 2, and 3 swipes. 3 swipes. They're amazing. Now we're gonna add our depth, but we just need to do a couple dots near the lash line, and this is how you get that really nice, smoky, celebrity, smudgy goodness. And I'm going to kind of connect it here. I'm not really doing a wing, but I'm doing kind of a smudge. It's a secret smudge. And it is gonna add lift to the eye without it being a wing, and this is so good for hooded eyes. So good. Now take your E27 or the smallest brush in your collection, and we're just gonna tap that in. And I'm using the tip of the brush. See how it's just gonna fit in there perfectly? There you go. There's your secret smudge. We're gonna do style number 5 from Libre Lashes today. And then we're gonna move on to complexion. There's some ways to get bronzier looking skin without just thinking bronzer. Let's do this. So the key to bronzy skin is very even skin. So as you can see, I don't have extremely dark eye circles, but I want my skin to look extra glowy. So I'm going to use a smidgel of color corrector. Y'all want a little bonus tip? Now, if you have dry under eyes, let's skip this, okay? But if your under eyes are not dry, take a tiny, itty bitty, tiny little baby amount of a liquid shadow like this, okay? When I say little, and you'll notice it's very peach, okay? I'm gonna use such a small amount that it's going to be less brown and it's gonna be more peach. I'm gonna put it right here. You see that? Almost non-existent. I don't know what I did with this brush earlier, but let's just wipe it. And then I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna buff it underneath my eye. See how it's turning peach? I'm gonna buff that underneath my eye with a big fluffy brush. This is the In a Rush brush, E29, okay? Sometimes when we're working with a creamy corrector, they can crease our makeup. We're not sure it's dry time. I'm saying an average, just here's one. This is a corrector stick. It's very, very creamy. And I love this formula. That's not what I'm saying. This isn't saying that this is bad. I'm just saying that this is a very good technique if you have an under eye that tends to just want to crease. Say you're very expressive. This, using a liquid shadow as a color corrector, game changer. It's a game changer for you. Especially if you have to use a lot of corrector. Because when you have to use more corrector than what I use here, it can get very hard to understand that perfect ratio between corrector and then concealer on top. In fact, I will be right back. I am going to go film this. I feel like I've posted this before, but this is really helpful. I'll be right back. So I finished filming it. I just have my concealer on. I actually don't have foundation on yet. We can just go in with the concealer underneath here. But this just works so wonderfully. If you've struggled with your concealer mixing in with your corrector, this is an amazing technique. And this works on, even with the right skin prep, because my under eye, I'm 35 these days. I don't have a super, super dry under eye, but I would not consider myself to have a perfect moisturized under eye. When I say dry under eye, I mean extreme patchiness. I should say an extra dry under eye, because if you have dry under eyes with the right skin prep, you're using such a small amount of it that you will be okay with the right skin prep. I don't want you to think it's just going to suck the life out of your under eye. But when I say dry under eye, I think of freshly retinoled under eye. I'm going to use my Cover FX power plug. Shake it. Shake the heck out of it. Okay. I'm not going to put quite as much on today because I already have the concealer on. And the concealer, I can't tell you what it is. It's just for a little bit longer. So many of you purchased this on my recommendation and y'all are loving it. Makes me so happy. This was my jam back before I thought it was being discontinued. Now it's back. And it's my favorite. If you still want to know what my favorite affordable drugstore foundation is, though, it's going to be the Revlon Color Stay, because they have formulas for both combination oily and balanced and dry skin types. So we love the Revlon Color Stay. So I want to use this blush. I don't know if it's limited edition. It was in the P. Louise advent calendar, but all I'm doing is I'm looking for something that's not pink, more of a tawny shade. I'm just going to swatch it here to show you. There's just not pink. We're just going away from pink. Pink is going to, believe it or not, but pink on a lot of skin tones, it can kind of add an unevenness to the skin. And I just know that we're going to go into peach this year because peach is so flattering on a very large array of skin tones. And what I mean by flattering, and what is flattering, it kind of just evens out the skin tone. And that's what you're seeing. If you're still into your peach tones, a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times they are very wonderful for just making the skin tone just look wonderfully airbrushed and even. This also lends itself to, can't show you that brush, but this lends itself to that very bronzy look. You need something with a lot of peach in it. Okay, let's just place it like that. I only have it on my hand. Normally I would just put it on with my spatula, but I wanted to swatch it for you on the back of my hand. And we're going to work this in with our C41. And I'm using the tip of the brush to kind of blend this in. I'll have more precision. But the way that the brush is sloped, see how sloped it is? You get that initial blend first with the tip of the brush, and then to diffuse and kind of transition and make sure it's all melted, we'll use the entire brush. And then to get a really nice bronzy effect to the face, 2 bronzers, always 2 bronzers. It's going to be 2 bronzers. Pro makeup artists will tell you 2 bronzers. It's about that dimension. We're going to start with this cream bronzer. I'm actually going to start with the lighter bronzer. Okay, let's just go in. We're going to place it like we normally would. Also notice that it's very warm. That's a bronzer. And I do like this Dibs formula a lot, if you're wondering. Very nice, very blendable. And I feel that it's not quite as pigmented as the LYS one. That one can get out of hand and sabotage your makeup. So let's go ahead and we're going to do that. This is our first bronzer. I know it seems excessive, but it really and truly makes a difference. We need a C40, and we're going to start to blend this into the hairline. See how nicely they blend? Love them. 10 out of 10. Also, I don't have any powder on my face. That's important at this step. Okay. So now we have our first round of bronze. We do want to make sure it's more blended. Just take your time, do some nice pressing motions, make sure it's melted into the blush. And I'll just warm up my nose a little bit. Very exciting. It really makes a difference. It makes a difference on these transitions. We're gonna go further back now for the darker powder bronzer that we're gonna put on. I promise you, I know you're thinking, it's just 2 products, that's so much. To get this true, just dimensional bronze, 2 bronzers. They can be Wet n Wild bronzers. They can be dollar store bronzers. Get you some affordable bronzers, but you need 2 bronzers. So we're not going to be using pink powder because if we think back to when these very bronzy looks were more popular, we were using something closer to our skin tones. We were using translucent powder. We were using, a lot of us were using Laura Mercier, just the original powder. So it was a closer color like this one. This one's from Maybelline, and I actually love it to set my under eye. Jean has decided it is bath time, so we're going to not use pink powder. No pink powder. That's going to take us into a different makeup dimension. And we want to stay very bronzy. Isn't this powder good for how affordable it is? I love this powder. So then I just did a light dusting of that same powder. Don't look at this brush. I'm trying to go fast so you can't see it. It's prototype. Don't look at it. Didn't happen. But I went ahead and I set the perimeter. Now we're going to grab this Mauve bronzer. So normally I use N36, but I wanted it to be a little darker. So we're going to grab this shade. We're going to grab it more on the front part of the brush. And I'm going to go really far on the perimeter, really out. This is going to help that transition. Just like when we laid down, remember how we laid down that very light color? Then we went in with the darker shade on the eyeshadow? Same concept. Ooh, this is going to be nice. Fit it right there, then start to transition that upwards. Smooth. Back with that brown liner, I'm going to do a nice little dot here in the center. Doesn't have to be a perfect dot, but it just needs to be a dot. I'm going to take my E27, I'm going to blend it over this way, and then I'm going to blend it over this way. And then we'll just kind of go back and forth very lightly and just make sure it's even across. So I'm trying to think of a lip that I would have done when I did these more bronzy looks. Oof, the skin looks so even. I would have done a very pale lip like this, but I would not have left it. And then I tried to think, what lip liner would I use? And I would have used MAC Strip Down for sure. It's been a while since I've used this, so I'm going to try to find us a dupe. I couldn't even remember what the color looked like, and then I would grab the pink and start to blend. Yep, and then let me find a gloss. Then I would have put a sparkly pink gloss like this on top. If you haven't added some of these to your collection, please do. I feel like they're the only gloss I reach for anymore. Oh, they're so pretty. So pretty, so comfortable, so affordable. And there's a few colors that just make the lips absolutely glow. This one's a little bit more transparent, so we're getting a gloss shine, but what I mean by glow is something like this, that blue in there. I wouldn't have worn this color and this would have taken it too pink, so that's why I didn't use this one. But this is what I'm talking about here. Look at this. Look at that. It's so pretty, and that blue just makes it really, really glowy. But I love the color that I have on too. And there you have it. We're all bronzy. And you'll notice that we really didn't have the fallout that we saw originally. I'm gonna do more looks with this, so I'm really excited. I can't wait to do one with these darker shades over here, the green and the purple. And I remember this shade, everybody struggled with this shade. I'm excited. I hope that you'll learn something today. Pressed pigments, they're not scary. They just require a little bit of a different technique. That is it for today. My eyes look more honey colored. So cool. I love that about browns. They really do enhance brown eyes. What you're seeing here is you're seeing more of a red brown underneath here, and that's really going to bring out the more honey color in my eyes. Color theory, we love it. And I love you. In case nobody has told you today, I love you so much. What is tomorrow? Thursday. Ooh, tomorrow we're going to talk about some new things and things that we're loving and things that didn't work out for us. So I look forward to Thursdays. I love you so much, and I'll see you tomorrow.